CNET stage, everybody, live here at 2013 CES. I'm Brian Cooley.
And I'm Lindsay Turrentine, Editor-in-Chief of CNET Reviews. You're watching us right now on a device that uses either a keyboard, a mouse, a touchscreen, a remote control. But imagine a world where all of those become obsolete.
Instead, you might interface with your electronics in the fairly near future by gesture, by voice, by eye movement, even by brainwave. That's why we think the next interface is actually you.
We have three guests who are making that a reality today. James Park is CEO of Fitbit, known for wearable tech that monitors your calories and your activity.
And right next to him in the middle of our panel is Matt Rogers. He's founder and VP of Engineering at Nest. We are both owners of said product, makers of a connected smart thermostat that figures out your behavior by figures out your home's HVAC behavior by monitoring yours.
And Michael Buckwald is CEO and co-founder of Leap Motion, which has created technology for operating electronics by just using your hands.
And I also want to point out we've got Brian Tong over here on the little dais.
So let's ask you guys, just to kick this off, what are the benefits of connecting your body and your life and the hardware in your home to technology?
The philosophy behind Leap is very much letting people reach into their computers like we interact with things in the real world. And in the same way that my reaching out and picking up this bottle is a very complex but totally thoughtless action that's totally instant, that's the same experience that we want to bring to these unimaginably powerful computers that are literally everywhere we go.
Now, Michael, of all the technologies that we're seeing here, specifically out the stage with you guys, you're freaking people out the most. This is like as if it's by match. I mean, all this stuff's really impressive, but you were describing to me that hand gestures are not just very natural, but they're also they're high bandwidth in a sense. What does that mean when you're dealing with analog human hands?
Yeah, so it's all about letting people bring in the complexity. Basically, the fact that when I reach out and pick up this object, I am transmitting thousands of data points to my muscles in terms of how far forward I should move, how quickly I should move forward, when I should grab. And if we can let people bring that to a computer, and they can sit in front of something like a 3D virtual piece of clay, and they can sculpt that piece of clay with their hands and fingers, suddenly people who have never created anything on a computer ever can create a complex 3D model that's just as good as what someone would create who is a professional 3D modeler, and they can do that with no training and in seconds. And that same accessibility, that extends to all sorts of applications.
You know what's interesting here is that all of these panelists are taking us back to being children. Aren't you? Doing the simplest things and getting more out of them, in a sense?
Simple works.
I have a question about how the smartphone and mobile technology has made it easier for you guys to work on the innovations that you're working on. And is that a bridge to devices that have a future interface, or is that how we're going to do it for a long time? Your technology skips that altogether, it seems like. I mean, does it render the smaller, tablet-style device not so meaningful?
Well, I think there are probably two steps. So immediately, a tablet that has Leap inside it could still have the same screen it has, but suddenly the interaction area can be bigger. Not just bigger, but also three-dimensional. So it's not just about this small 2D interaction surface that is the same size as this small screen. I'm interacting with my phone or tablet in this space between me and it, which opens up a lot of opportunity for new types of interaction, which is exciting. But we're also excited about enabling new form factors that wouldn't have been possible, like perhaps head-mounted displays, where the user's interacting with augmented reality in their field of view, in their vision, without strapping a keyboard or a touchscreen to their arm or something.
Let me ask you guys about a little bit toward your longer range plans. Leap Motion, as we've most seen it right now, is a module that works with other devices. The Nest thermostat, see it right there, it's a product into itself. Fitbit products are also products into themselves. They're all discrete. What's the integration plan? Don't all of you want to be out of the hardware business at some point and be licensing your IP? Matt, you're shaking your head no.
Never, actually. So
the thermostat always on my wall, 25 years from now. Mike, I got the impression that you were moving toward something much more of an integration with other product strategy, right?
Yes, both are going to play a big role in the future. We really like building hardware as well, and we like being able to create markets that didn't exist before, and obviously we can move faster than big OEMs, so we're going to continue to build products and create new markets, but we also don't think that users should have to carry around a peripheral to interact with every device. So the reality is, if we want users to use Leap technology to control their smartphone or tablet, and we don't want them to carry a peripheral around, we have to work with OEMs and we have to work to embed the technology. So both are in our future, and I think we can deliver great experiences.
It would seem to me that there's someone next to me picking up a can of Coke while I'm trying to do my thing on my laptop.
Well, it goes back to the core philosophy about interaction. So if Leap was about these binary gestures where I make a sign with my hands and then something that's predetermined happens.
And that's kind of what the gesture-controlled TVs are doing, right? Pretty simple.
Right. When people think about gestures, that's what they think about. And we don't like that as much. We think that people don't really want to learn sign language to control their computer. So what we're pushing with Leap is the idea of interacting with something that is where there's context. There's an object, and you're interacting with it in this physical way. So we can ignore any noise that isn't related to some context. So if someone is sitting here and they're playing a harp in the air with their fingers, and you're moving your hand behind me and it's not anywhere near the harp, we can ignore you very easily.
Oh, interesting. So because the motions that you're reading and the way that you're doing it is so rich, it's easier to reject things that don't matter, right? I mean, if I'm doing a simple motion on a gesture TV to turn the volume up and down or something, and the cat jumps down from a bookshelf, that could be mistaken. It's the same thing, right?
Exactly. A gesture.
What you're doing is much richer and easier to distinguish.
Absolutely. A gesture TV is looking for, is there an up or down movement? Yes or no. We're looking for, how are you interacting with this specific contextual situation? And it's actually counterintuitive, but because we have so much more data and more accuracy, we're actually much more resistant to noise.
Interesting. Let's go back to Brian.
That's crazy. I love that. I was kind of wondering if any of you have ideas about really unique uses that you've heard from your users, stories you've heard of wild things that people have done using your products. Yeah. That's really great.
Michael, what have people done with Leap Motion that made you go, never thought of that?
Well, I don't want to spoil any of our developers' activities, but there's a ton of things that people have expressed interest in doing, and it's been really amazing to see the diversity. And I think the thing that's most exciting and surprising to me is just how every person is passionate about using this for something else. I think there is something that people feel they have been missing from their experiences with computers, and it's just very different from person to person. So some people are saying, I'm really excited that I will be able to, for the first time, edit video, edit audio. Others are saying, I'm really excited that for the first time I am going to be able to interact with all of the complexity of my social networking data in this really intuitive, powerful way. And then, of course, there's tons of great gaming things in the works.
And I'd like you also to explain a little bit or illustrate for us a little bit about the resolution of what you're capturing, because we're all used to touch screens where the resolution is not great. Trying to type on a touchscreen frustrates everyone. If you're a little bit off, it's too stupid to figure it out. And we're talking about coarse versus fine gestures. How highly resolved is your ability to know, if I can move my finger just as tiny as bit, you can hardly see it. Can you pick that up?
We definitely can. Our accuracy is about 1/100 of a millimeter. And I know that sounds excessive, but it's actually not. The goal with Leap is for you to feel like your arm is an extension of what's happening on the computer. And in order to actually feel that way, and to feel like this is a fundamentally better way of controlling and not just a cool gadget, it has to be extremely accurate, but also very responsive. The latency is almost as important as the accuracy. So
right, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've heard a lot about with tablets, a lot of the future innovation will be about the latency of the touch response as opposed to even the sensing of the touch response or the pixels in the display. Yeah, that's what. All right.
You're jealous, aren't you?
We're always jealous of you. Michael, where we left off was, what do you think, can you envision a time in the fairly near future where people are going to find one thing they kind of congeal around first and start to buzz about around technology like what you're doing and saying, okay, now I get it because I've tried X through it?
So I think there are two things, and I know that violates the spirit of the question, but one is that the moment someone gets a Leap and they connect it to their computer, they can use it to control Windows 8 or Mac OS X like it was a touchscreen. And even for legacy 2D interfaces, Leap can be a better way of controlling them than a touchscreen because you don't have to move one-to-one like you do with the touchscreen. If I want to move from this corner to that corner, I don't have to drag, and I don't have to lean forward, which is tiring. So I can sit back comfortably, move my finger a small distance to cover the entire screen, but it's still a directed experience. So we think that will have a lot of mass market appeal, but it's about the developers. So the developer community is the single most important thing for us. We have over 40,000 developers from 150 countries that have applied to be part of the Leap developer program, and the things they create, which a lot of which have a lot of mass market appeal. Those are things that are built to work great with Leap, and those are the first things where people are going to use it and say, "Wow, this is something that I never could have imagined doing before."
Yeah, Lindsay, I'm getting this vision of your army of editors, how they spend so much time hunched over, reaching, like Michael says, for a device they've got to pull, and we're dealing with ergo all the time, like every company, getting in the right position so your neck's not stiff and all that. If we could just kind of sit back, I'm not making a pitch that you go, install 2,000 of these tomorrow. Theoretically.
I'm going to join the developer program. That's it.
Surprised you haven't already. It's a huge ergo breakthrough, it would seem, just for a way to get your body in the right position and not worry about, am I also in the right position to access the interface? It's just solved for one thing.
It's a potentially great replacement for something like a remote control, where you have to have a small but kind of not interesting device that sits around your living room. Instead of sitting across the room and interacting with something on the other side of the room.
Yeah, definitely. We use cases like a conference room where everyone has a Leap in front of them and everyone is interacting to control something that's far away. So we imagine use cases like a conference room where everyone has a Leap in front of them and everyone is interacting with the same screen.
All right. Any final questions or anything that we've left out? What have we left out? What have you thought? Why didn't they ask this? Why didn't they ask that?
So we get asked this a lot. Like, why don't you add this feature? Why doesn't it have a clock? All those kind of things. And part of what makes building a great device and building a great interface tough is dealing with all the noise and actually the discipline to keep it simple. And that's something to keep in mind, for all of us when looking at these next generation
attribute that serves you well.
Yes, yeah. When looking at all this next generation technology, keeping it really simple is hard to do, and that's something we need to do in order to really drive it to the mass market.
Yeah, Michael, final thoughts.
Well, I think in our case it goes back to the importance of the developer community. We are very actively seeking new applications from developers of all kinds, and we will be continuing to send out thousands of Leap devices between now and when we actually start shipping the product.
Okay. James, last thoughts to leave us with.
For us, I think what we're going to see in digital health is, smaller and smaller devices collecting more and more meaningful data types, and I think it's a really exciting time because it's really in the past few years that technology has gotten to the point where devices like the Fitbit have been possible. So I'm really excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, good stuff. I want to thank everybody for joining us for this panel. This has been, I know we like to think as an editorial organization, all of our children are beautiful, all of our projects and panels and pieces. This is my favorite so far at this show. So thanks everyone for being here. Please join me in thanking our guests, if you will. James Park from Fitbit, Matt Rogers from Nest, and Michael Buckwald from Leap Motion. Great future thinkers.
Thank you so much for coming.
And of course, thanks to BT and the companies that joined him there, Vuzix, Interaxon with the Muse brainwave sensing technology, and iTribe, the eye tracking and scanning technology. More great stuff there. How about a hand for them? Great innovators. Great innovators. On behalf of myself and Editor-in-Chief Lindsay Turrentine, thank you for being with us, and our live coverage at CES continues here at ces.cnet.com.